bag tutorial. Let's go make it. We're gonna start with 2 pieces of fabric that are 12 by 21. Now, I pieced mine, but you don't have to. You can use one color. 12 inches deep by 21 inches wide. Here's my second piece. This is gonna be the top of my bag. This is gonna be the bottom of my bag. I have 2 pieces. They are 9 inches by 21 inches. Then, I have 2 pieces. This is the lining of my bag, and they are 20 inches by 21 inches. And I have 2 pieces, these are the straps, that are 3 inches by 39 inches. 3 by 39, 20 by 21, 9 by 21, 12 by 21. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our 3 inch by 39 inch strap. We're gonna take it to the ironing board. We're going to iron it in about 1/4 inch and then iron it in half. After we've done that, we're gonna come back and sew all the way down both sides. We're gonna sew down this side and then come back and sew down that side. We're not sewing the ends shut because they're gonna be sewn up a different way. So all we're worried about is sewing the sides down so they lay really flat. We're just gonna do this with a straight stitch, although I am gonna sew closer to this edge than I normally would. And when I come back to do the other side, I'm gonna sew close to that edge also. Stitch and back stitch. Thank you, Missouri Star Quilt Company, for sending us these beautiful fabrics. This tote bag was made from fat quarters. And this fat quarter bundle is called Once Upon a Christmas by Moda. Missouri Star Quilt Company sent us the fabric and they let us decide what we wanted to create. I asked, and this is what y'all said. So, going down the list, one project at a time. This one might be one of my favorites. Y'all know I don't love to pin, but for this, we have to pin. So I'm going to lay my first piece down by itself, face up. Now this is the 12 by 21 inch piece. It's the top of my bag. And I'm going to take my strap and lay it on my bag like this. Now I want to come in from the edge 6 inches. I'm going to find a ruler. I'm going to come over 6 inches and put my strap. I'm going to pin that. Now I'm going to measure at the top and at the bottom to make sure that it's 6 inches. I'm going to take my strap. I'm going to make sure that it is not twisted. Make sure that it's straight all the way around. And I'm going to lay it on this end of my bag. And I'm also going to come in 6 inches. I'm going to do this for both sides of my bag. I'm adding the straps to this side, and when I'm finished, I'm going to go add the straps to the other side. Measuring from the outside edge in 6 inches and pinning both straps, making sure that the straps are not twisted. Now I'm going to sew these. I want you to listen to this part. I'm not going to sew right here. I'm going to start about 1 inch below the top of the bag. So I'm going to start sewing about right here, and I'm going to sew to the bottom. And then I'm going to start sewing about right here, and I'm going to sew to the bottom. And I'm going to do that on all 4 straps. Do not sew it all the way to the top because we're not finished sewing this. Instead of starting at the top and going down, I started at the bottom and came up. When I got about 1 inch from the top, I turned, went across my strap, and then down the other side. It doesn't really matter how you sew it as long as you sew down both sides of both straps on both sides of your bag. That was a whole entire mouthful. When you're finished with this step, you're like 50% done with the bag. This is the hardest part of the whole project. We've sewn our handles on our bag, on the front and on the back. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 9 inch by 21 inch piece and we're going to lay it pretty side down at the bottom. This is going to be the bottom of our bag. Now we're going to straight stitch this all the way across on both pieces. Just stitching with a 1/4 inch seam. Stitch, back stitch. And remember, do not look at your needle. Follow the edge of your fabric with the edge of your presser foot. So your eyes should be looking at your fabric and your presser foot. Now here, oh my goodness, look how cute this is. This is what our bag is gonna look like. So I'm gonna come down here and I'm going to top stitch. This is gonna keep my bag front laying flat so it doesn't poof all out because we want it to look nice. It's so stinking cute. Now y'all know how I feel about the top stitch. It's one of those things I didn't do, but I promise it makes all the difference in the world. Takes your project from homemade to handmade. Now we're going to take one piece of our bag face up and the other piece of our bag face down. Make sure your handles are both at the top. Now, if you're a pinner or a clipper, this is where you're pinning or clipping. I'm not. Don't come for me. We're going to sew 3 sides. We're going to sew this side, this side, and this side. We're just sewing it with a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam. Sewing the two sides and the bottom of your bag. Do not sew the top of your bag shut. Y'all remember I sewed the top of my apron pocket shut? Not a good idea. Then Sally has to come and you have to have a whole visit and it's just not a good situation. Make sure that you're not sewing the top of your bag shut. For those of y'all who don't know, Sally is my seam ripper's name. We're going to take the bottom of our bag and find our corners. We're going to open our corners up and we're going to line these two seams up. This seam and this seam. We want to feel them and make sure they're on top of each other. Get a ruler, lay it down there, and put the very, very tip at the number 4. And then you're going to draw a line right here. You're going to come here and you're going to take this ruler, put it on that line, and do it all the way across. I've clipped this so it doesn't move. Now I'm going to go do the other corner. This is going to give you pretty boxy corners. If the corners intimidate you, don't do it. Just skip this step. You're going to sew on this line and the other line. You're sewing this with a straight stitch directly on the line that you drew on both corners. You're going to cut it off. Make sure you don't cut your seams. You're going to cut that corner off. What that's going to do is give you these pretty boxy corners. Do you see that pretty boxy corner that you now have? Oh my goodness, in your tote bag. Now we have 2 pieces of fabric that are 21 inches by 20 inches. The 20-inch side is going to be the top of the bag, so we're not going to sew it shut, but we're going to sew all the way around the other 3 sides. Only on one side, we're going to leave a hole because we're going to use that in a minute. So I'm going to sew, this is the top of my bag. I put a clip there so I could remember. I'm going to sew from here to here and stop at this mark. And then I'm going to come down to this mark and I'm going to sew here, all the way across, and all the way up that side. This is still a straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, following the edge of your fabric with the edge of your presser foot. We're just sewing the lining of the bag so that we can put our bag together. Y'all remember, when you make these, I need a photo. Email it to me at hometownquiltcompany@gmail.com. Show and tell is my favorite. I want to see it, and so does everybody else. My sewing students in class, in real life, inside my shop, talk about what y'all are making. So now I'm going to take my bag. I'm going to leave it inside out. I'm going to take my lining, and I've got the top clipped. I'm going to unclip it and turn it right side out. Then I'm going to put my lining inside my bag. Now I want to make sure my seams match on the sides. We only have 2, 1 on each side. And we want to push our handles in. I put my lining in. I pushed my handles in. The lining is pretty side to the pretty side of the bag. I matched up that seam and I'm matching up this seam. This is why we didn't sew our handles all the way to the top, because our next step is we're going to sew one big circle. We're going to sew all the way around the entire thing. If you are a pinner, this is where you would pin. You can pin or clip. We're just going to sew this with a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam all the way around, one big circle. I pieced my bag together because I wanted all the colors in it. And y'all, I'm so dang tickled with this. I thought I might give it as a teacher's gift, but now I'm going to keep it for myself. We're going to find our hole we left in our lining. Maybe. There it is. We're going to turn our entire bag right side out through that hole. Y'all know the drill. Fingers, chopstick, handy dandy tool, no scissors. Do not use your scissors to poke your corners out, but please push your corners out. It makes your project look so nice. We're going to fold our hole in. We're going to sew it shut. Y'all, this is so stinking cute. We're going to push our lining into our bag. I would tell y'all to iron, but I'm not going to go iron, but you can if you want to. We're going to top stitch the top of our bag. And y'all, these threads, pull them off, cut them off. If you pull on something and your project falls apart, we didn't do something right. Do not leave this hot wreckness on there. Nobody wants to see that. And it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. Now, I'm going to top stitch all the way around my bag. A top stitch is just a straight stitch, stitched a little closer to the edge, or that's what I do. And don't listen to me. The whole time I was sewing this, I was wishing I had ironed it. And as I go around with the top stitch, I'm sewing over the handles to give them a little more stability. Are you ready? Look at what you just made in probably about 30 minutes. Super cute tote bag. Easy, beginner-friendly sewing project. You could make this when you pull your sewing machine out of the box for the very first time. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.